Let's see. Let me turn on the gallery view so I can see all of my beloveds. It's just so wonderful. Yep, there we are. Oh, fantastic. Well, it's been a wild and woolly ride. I hope you enjoyed some of those pictures. That was just a little taste of the retreat that we just got back from. It was quite remarkable. So amazing to be dancing with the group with no masks. We took all of our tests and made sure that everybody was, of course, how can I say everybody was negative? What I thought. Anyway, everybody, the little line on the test showed us that we could, try it out. So we did good. We had a shocking, well, let's see, for full moon, it was eclipse. So everybody got up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and a group actually stayed to watch the entire eclipse. It was quite dramatic. The moon turned nicely blood red, and it was really amazing. The prayers, so that we were so grateful. We were so grateful. It's just amazing to be back dancing again after these 2 years of separation. So we're really looking forward to heading back to the States and seeing some of you too. Pretty exciting that that's going to happen. And before you know it, we'll be back on Maui for a while. That'll be nice too. So I gathered some materials together. I was, of course, a little distracted by, the comings and goings of the retreat and getting ready for this leap off. One of the issues that we're facing right now is the airline industry is struggling, and flights are being canceled left, right, and center. So we were just expecting Miri's son to arrive tomorrow, and he's still sitting at the airport hoping he can get on the plane. He had a reservation, but they told him that he's on standby. So, there it is. And well, yeah, as we all determined at the retreat, we are all flexitarians, and so the Brazilians decided to accept that into their word lexicon. So it'll go across English and Portuguese, flexitarians. We had 3 days of freezing cold wind, which never happens this time of year. No one in Brasilia has ever seen this kind of weather before. So we were sort of caught out on that one. And because of that, we had to move things around. And so therefore, maximum flexitarian behavior was demanded of us. Fortunately, this is the blessing of the Dharma in our life. We all adjusted, and therefore nobody dropped the ball. Everybody had a wonderful time, even though there were moments when we were really freezing. But we hung in there, and yeah, it's the times. We are all, it's up to us. This is the transforming adversity into the path. Well, we did a great job, and hopefully we can continue, since I don't expect that the world is going to get any different. But anyway, the first thing I wanted to share with you, over here, I've been going through piles of papers, notes that I've taken over the course of the years that I've been here. And a couple of things really popped out that I wanted to share. Phyllis Moses sent me a link about the helpfulness of dance in schizophrenia. And I have a very dear friend whose daughter is suffering from this. And so I sent her the link. But in the meantime, then this other paper popped up. And I thought, well, that's really fascinating. So I just wanted to share this with you since it's been on my mind. This was probably written a year or two ago, but at that time, it was a new study published in the open access journal Frontiers in Human Neuroscience. And those of you who get my notes, I'll send this off to you. It shows that older people, hello, Older people who routinely partake in physical exercise can reverse the signs of aging in the brain. Dancing has the most profound effect. Now, this is a question that's been coming up a lot because my circle of friends, of course, we're all creeping into the 70s and 80s and definitely feeling the physical and mental sort of challenge of this change. It's definitely very different from the 50s and 60s, I must say. So here we are. And I thought, wow, okay, dancing has the most profound effect on the body and the mind. It slows down or even counteracts any kind of decline in mental and physical capacity. It increases the area of the brain that tends to decline with age. Therefore, in comparison, dancing leads to noticeable behavioral changes in terms of improved balance. They did a study with a group. The average age was 68. And what they discovered was there was an increase in the hippocampus area of the brain that is prone to age-related decline and affected by diseases like Alzheimer's. It also plays a key role in memory and learning, as well as keeping one's balance. So I don't know if, I know many of you are dealing with parents or spouses that have been demonstrating a decline in their mental capacity. So dance, get out the music and dance. Anyway, they did say that the most profound effect was when the group was challenged with something they had to learn. So not just free dancing. This is again where our dances in Taradatu come into play, because we have a prescribed way of doing them. And so it was the most effective, they found, when the group needed to actually concentrate on a choreography. And especially when they had to concentrate on new choreography, which is something that Mehdi and I are always sort of looking around to develop, new choreography for our students. And finally, this one, I thought it was just a really stark statement. Dementia patients react strongly when listening to music. Now, this was my experience with my mother. My mother was so totally gone in Alzheimer's. She didn't recognize any of us, and she was constantly in a fearful state because she didn't know where she was. She didn't know who she was with and so forth. But what we discovered was if we sang to her songs, the old timey songs, she was really into Frank Sinatra and those kinds of guys. So, we would sing these old songs with her, and that calmed her right down. And she would start to move. She was a dancer in her time. So, there's a little hint for those of you who are dealing with beloveds who are losing their mental capacity. Put on their favorite music, something that they even can sing along, and have them stand up and move with you. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but get moving. A couple of simple quotes from here. This is, here we go. Okay, this is a little, the hippocampus counts among the few brain regions with the ability to generate new neurons throughout the lifespan. The larger hippocampus volumes may in turn contribute to better memory function. In this respect, dancing is a promising intervention because it requires the integration of sensory information from multiple channels: auditory, vestibular, visual, somasensory, and the fine-grained motor control of the whole body. I have been saying often, now a lot of my information, I don't know where it comes from. It's always delightful when there's something like this that sort of confirms what my personal experience is. Our dancing and our practices, they come at us from different directions. We are stimulated in a number of different ways when we are dancing. It's not just the body. There's all kinds of stimulus. And because of this, emotionally, mentally, we're stimulated by the movement, the music, the meditation, all of these different ways allow us to, it gives us more information. We expand with this information, and that's exactly what's being said here. Everything improves, especially memory tasks in elderly dancers. So I thought that that would be a nice way to start this whole howdy do of me getting together with you guys. Yeah, so amazing to be to have it confirmed that what we're doing and how we're doing it is really beneficial, and the ways that we can use it with our own family. It doesn't have to be sacred dance, just get up and dance. Okay, so now we're ready to launch into the transforming happiness into the spiritual path. The past two Zooms, I spoke quite extensively on transforming adversity. And I just want to, remind us that according to these teachings, every part of life, it doesn't matter what's happening, how it's happening, that if we approach it in a way that's appropriate, that in a positive frame, if we frame it positively, that in fact it empowers us. And so we have a continual opportunity, moment by moment, to be empowered and blessed by the experiences in our life, no matter how exceptionally strange they may be, and how unfortunate they demonstrate themselves. On the other hand, if we deal with them with creativity and humor and integrate them, allow it to stimulate our sense of wisdom and compassion, that in fact they are blessings, that they are, adversity is in fact a great blessing on the spiritual journey, on the spiritual path. Now, of course, we have to remember that what's required here in order for any of this to function is that we set our intention to manifest the fullness of our capacity, our awakened mind. We need to affirm that, because when any of these challenges come up, it's going to look like, oh, well, I'm going to lose my house, I'm going to lose my husband, I'm going to lose my leg, I'm going to, God knows what, I'm going to lose. There's always that sense of becoming a victim. It takes energy and effort to change our attitude about that kind of thing. So if we don't, however, we deplete our vitality. So we need to, in order to accumulate spiritual vitality and openness, the capacity to have insight into how to work with this incredible opportunity that we have, human consciousness, how to work with that, we need to set our intention. So in this, we start always with our prayer of motivation, which, after I talk a little while, I'll have us stand up and dance a little bit. But I want to just get into the talking right now, so we can really get a sense of how this all comes together. So with our intention of manifesting the fullness of our wisdom and compassion, and of becoming capable and powerful to be able to move through the world as a blessing in the world, in order to do that, we're using every circumstance that arises. Now, I just sort of gave an overview of adversity. Now we go into the happiness part, okay? Discussing happiness and transforming it into the spiritual path, it actually is very interesting. It has to do with a teaching that I gave. Where was it? I guess this was at the retreat, of the 6 realms of suffering. The 6 realms of suffering is a classic Buddhist presentation of dimensions of consciousness. Now, it is said, and we can definitely confirm this by our own experience, that we have different dimensions of consciousness. We have different ways of looking at the world and all of its events. And in this way, each dimension of consciousness has its own laws, its own way of mode of being. And the basic dimension are the hell realm, the hungry ghost realm, the animal realm, the human realm, the angry gods, the jealous gods realm, and the God realm. And all of these are considered dimensions of consciousness. They are all realms, ways in which consciousness can get trapped. And it's the wheel of samsara, the wheel of becoming. And these traps lead us to suffering. Now there's 3 lower realms and 3 higher realms. The hell realms are produced through anger and hatred. The hungry ghost realms are produced to a sense of inadequacy and greed. The animal realms are eat and be eaten. The human realm is overwhelmed by desire and dissatisfaction. The jealous gods are overwhelmed by jealousy. They have everything and they're still jealous of somebody who has more. So there's no satisfaction in any of these realms except the God realm, okay? And this is the one that we're talking about now when we're talking about happiness. The God's realm, and the question always comes up, well, gosh, wouldn't we be happy to be in the God's realm? Well, yes, maybe we would be happy to be there. But the problem with the God realm is it is produced, like all the other dimensions of consciousness, by behavior. In other words, we have engaged in some kind of behavior that allowed us to experience a certain sense of well-being. The problem with that is that at some point, if we don't continue to produce those causes of experience, that it's really quite amusing the way they describe it in the texts, how all of a sudden the flowers that we're wearing start to fade and our skin starts getting wrinkles and our chair isn't comfortable, and all of these ways in which we no longer experience being in a God realm. So this is the attitude, and the attitude of being, once you have everything, according to these teachings, is it produces a sense of arrogance and complacency. Now, arrogance is easy to understand. I'm a God, I've got everything, I'm so cool. And we see that. We see people demonstrating, those who have a lot of money or who have a lot of status, they're wandering around flaunting their wealth, and sooner or later they fall. We've seen this again and again, that if they do not engage in the world as being responsible for the world, that they are not going to achieve and maintain happiness, that they will fall from their godlike position. The other thing that happens, and here's a word that is very interesting, which is complacency. In other words, everything is good, so we're just going to hang out here. And when I read this, it made me laugh because having a good chunk of my adulthood on Maui, we had something that we called tropical paralysis, yes, or which meant it was so good, everything was so good, that why do anything? Why engage in practice? Why, I can see Sherry over there laughing. Yep. Kauai is so gorgeous and fabulous. And so there we were with youthful bodies and everything was cool. And so Polynesian paralysis took over a lot. Fortunately, we also had a great number of lamas come around to say, ha, 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 yeah, you're in the God realm now. And they were really happy to jump into the God realm with us. But then they were just as happy to jump out and to tell us, be aware, this is going to end, that all of our, don't be complacent. So and here's that fabulous word, complacent. don't be complacent, engage in practice, because if you don't, when you start to fall, when the conditions change, and certainly as we age, we're all looking at that, the conditions are changing indeed. And so what really sustains us, and I've heard my friends say this to me many times, what sustains us at this time, as we sort of, it's not really a fall from grace, but it's definitely a change of circumstance where our bodies are not as responsive. They're not the beautiful bronze, naked, jump off the cliff into the crystal ocean bodies that we once had, right? We're sort of, managing to just barely get around. So, but it doesn't matter, because engaging in the Dharma and being instructed in the Dharma in the ways we were, and the amount of practice that we did, even though Polynesian paralysis took hold, it didn't take total hold. So we were fortunate enough. Okay, so Minnie, you're waving your hand. What's up?
Can you talk slowly?
Okay, I'm so sorry. I think I can see Xenia. So just to let everybody know, we have a translator. One of our Brasileiras is translating, and so I'll try to speak slower. It's, as they know, that's not an easy thing for me, but I'll try. Okay, sorry, Xenia. Yeah. Yes, so complacency. Okay. But these things, arrogance and complacency, do not benefit our spiritual path. And this is, this is what we were taking note. And what we're taking note now is what really supports us now with all of the challenges of aging. What really supports us is the Dharma that we studied and the practices that we did, and the insights that we were able to gather as we continued. So, because it was the Dharma that pointed out the advantage of being a flexitarian. So this is looking at happiness. So when things are good, instead of becoming complacent and instead of becoming arrogant, we use the power that we've gathered. We become aware of the process, and we are a little skeptical. Now, this is something that occurred in my life at one point with husband number 3. Everything was going fabulously well. Everything was just, couldn't be better. I mean, we had everything that we dreamed about: our house, our property, our dog, our everything. We were in a good mood with each other. We were working, everything was working. And I remember so clearly us looking at each other and going, okay, so then now what? What's going to happen next? Well, sure enough, everything fell completely apart. It took a couple of years, but we were separated and blah, 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 blah. But I remember the feeling very, because of all of the Dharma training, we looked at that moment and went, yes, this is good. And this is definitely the heavenly realms. And let us continue to do our practice to prepare for when things change, because that for sure is the keynote of this very strange world that we inhabit. So here we go. Therefore, we cannot cling to our happy situations. We have to recognize. So in order to make happiness part of our path, and this, I've seen this many times with my friends and students, when everything is going good, we think it's always going to be that way. So we must recognize that everything is impermanent. It's all going to change. This doesn't mean that it's all going to, that it's going to be suffering or that but it's going to change. And if we are not prepared to change, if we're not prepared to roll with whatever comes our way, we are going to suffer. So that's one of the first understandings of making happiness the path, is to recognize when it arises, okay, it's wonderful. We can enjoy it. This isn't saying don't enjoy the moment. We can enjoy it, but we cannot attach onto it. We cannot try to make it persist, in fact. We can simply recognize this is a good moment, I'm going to enjoy it, but I have no expectations for the future. Expectation is a very important word for us because it's expectation that causes the vast amount of suffering. We decide this is the way it's going to be. And if it's not like that, we're going to suffer. We saw a lot of this actually in a few days at camp when the weather got so cold. There was this magnificent, they call it the mandala, where, you know, we built the beautiful shrine and we had the comfortable chairs and there's plenty of space for the mandala, and it was freezing cold. We'd never experienced that. We'd never experienced that. And so if we had expectation, of course, we planned to do our practice every day in the mandala, but it was crazy. We couldn't, you know, because there was an alternative. It was small, there was a room, there was a space, but it was warm. So we crowded everybody in there and had powerful practice. Just reminding us, if we had expectations about things being a certain way, we were bound to suffer. But if we had developed our flexitarian attitude, we did just fine. So this is another keynote to the happiness, transforming happiness into the spiritual path, to be aware of how things progress and cultivate a skeptical attitude. I love that one. Cultivate a skeptical attitude. When things are good, just, yeah, they're good. Yeah, they're good. Often people will say to me when I'm when I'm getting ready to travel, are you excited? Aren't you excited? And unfortunately, I'm a Dharma person to say maybe. Maybe I'm excited. I don't know what's going to happen. It's impossible to know. Yes, I have a wonderful itinerary and all kinds of special things, but anything can happen. So rather than attaching myself onto what I think should happen, I simply leave the door open and decide that I'm going to enjoy whatever happens. And so this is a keynote actually to happiness. He was very adamant, actually, it was in big capital letters, bold print. Giving up happiness is not the practice. The point is not to become mesmerized by it as the end result. We recognize that good fortune is the result of the accumulation of wholesome deeds. We resolve to carry on with diligence and courage to achieve the ultimate blessing, liberation. Liberation is the ultimate blessing. Study, contemplate, meditate, and appreciate this precious human opportunity. So that, of course, leads us back to the whole idea of one of the most powerful practices that we can do is gratitude, to recognize that as human beings, we have the potential to experience awakened mind, and that this is exceptional and extraordinary and worthy of our effort, our time and effort. So use the state, and then I love this line here, use the state of happiness to pursue the Dharma vigorously. Yes, so vigorously. Okay, where was I? Okay, good fortune is the result of the accumulation of wholesome deeds. Resolve to carry on with diligence and courage to achieve the ultimate blessing, liberation. Study, contemplate, meditate, and appreciate this precious human opportunity. Use the state of happiness to pursue the Dharma vigorously. If freedom is impaired by suffering, it's difficult to attain enlightenment. Now, there's an interesting statement for you. The Buddha said that to practice Dharma in a state of happiness is great good fortune. So integrate happiness with the Dharma wherever possible. Offer your happiness as nectar to your sources of refuge. Make strong wishes that others may also experience your joy. So this right here is also a keynote to happiness, how to use happiness on the spiritual path. Whenever you're having a particularly enjoyable moment, dedicate it, give the wish that all beings can experience the same degree of comfort, the same degree of enjoyment that you are experiencing. Give your happiness away in that way. It doesn't deplete it. In fact, it increases it. The more you think of sharing your joy, the more your joy increases and the more stable you become. Stability is absolutely required in entering the state of awakened mind. There are a number of things that affect our stability, and one of them is we have overwhelming conditions of adversity that we're not able to transform. So we want to be able to transform everything into the spiritual path. But if we get a flower, if we see a flower and we're, our heart opens to the flower, think, I offer this flower to my teachers. I offer this flower to the enlightened ones. I wish that everyone could receive the joy that I receive in the beauty of this flower. You could also develop specific kinds of meditations. One of them that I use a lot, because I'm always so concerned about the refugees, the idea that there are these people who have been driven out of their home. They have no home. They're living in tent cities, if they even have that kind of advantage. And so I imagine that at the moment that I'm experiencing beauty, that no matter where they are or what's happening, that something beautiful unfolds for them. And in this way, it increases our radiance. Every time we think of others, our radiance is increased. Okay, so this is, okay, so here's the final statement. Rinpoche is very lovely about these things. One problem with happiness is that once happiness arises, you're not satisfied. You think you need more. So this is, again, important to acknowledge that it's not about getting more and more and more of anything. Contentment is a powerful condition to enable us to penetrate the fullness of our awakened capacity. Contentment. It's not the flash, it's the consistency. It's the stability and the clarity that develops as we engage in the practice of meeting moment by moment in the most relevant way possible, in the most advantageous way possible. Okay, so those are the teachings, the last two events, our last two Zoom events, and this one. Those are the teachings on transforming suffering and happiness into the path using the relative experience of the mind. Okay, now in our practice, there are several dimensions of consciousness, as I've said before, and there are different categories. And two of the categories are relative mind and ultimate mind. Relative mind is the experience of duality. In other words, we see ourselves as something separate from the rest of the world, or at least as something unique. We see this in the realm of gravity and density, and we see this in the realm of light, sound, and vibration. That is the relative realm. Then we have the ultimate realm. This is beyond the capacity of us to being able to communicate in words. We can infer to this, but it's not an easy thing. It's not easily apprehended, but it can be experienced by our human consciousness. And so we orient towards this awakening. Now, the way we use this happiness and adversity by means of ultimate truth, okay? So I'm going to read this and then I'll comment on it. Abiding in the awareness of the nature of emptiness is the essence of the intrinsic awareness nature of the mind. The conceptual proliferations stop automatically. Okay, so we can just start there. When one opens, and this is why we engage in meditations on infinite space, mind, infinite, open space. Now, these are just provocative words, but at some point the mind relaxes into this experience of infinite openness. There, okay, when we have experienced that, then in this nature of truth, unfavorable or favorable circumstances are not to be found. Okay, it's not that they, okay, this says they are non-existent. It's not that they're non-existent, it's that they dissolve into the expanse of this view, of this open, spacious view. Then they arise from the view. They dissolve into the view. So this is allowing us to see that this infinite creation that is arising in all of its color and all of its different modes of experience, that it is in fact vibrating energy, and it disappears and reappears. The unchanging essence, free from any limitation, is the original primordial nature of the mind as it is. It has always been, it will always be primordially perfect. If we recognize this, then there is no adversity. There's no question of adversity. There's no question of any of these internal experiences being limited. We are infinitely open then. The state of obscurity, which prevents you from realizing this, is temporary. In this condition of habitual reactions, born of karmic afflictions and obscurations, we train on the path to remove them. The path is practiced only to remove obscurations and to accumulate positive impressions in the mind so that the true nature of the mind can be realized. So, in other words, to put it in easy terms, when we are stable, when the mind is clear, when we're able to observe the arising and passing away, not only of thoughts, but of our all experience, that we settle into an experience of mind that is so deep and so open that there is no conflict. There's no conflict. It's like watching a movie. We know that there's a projector and we look at the movie and we know that it's not real. In other words, it's playing out in front of us, but it is not real. And so there is an essence, an essential nature to it. Now, that's a metaphor, though. It's not the thing itself. What part of the problem of discussing or even trying to discuss ultimate mind is that it can only be experienced beyond words. There are no words that really give that experience to us. But there are means of stimulating the mind in such a way that it relaxes into it. And so that is essentially the nature of our practices, is to bring the mind to the state where it opens and relaxes into its ultimate openness. And there, the experience reveals itself. And according to all of the teachers that I've ever met, this is our birthright. This is where we are going. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as we continue our talk here. How am I doing? Oh, not too bad. Yes, it's amazing how the time just flies by. Okay, so before I leave this section behind of transforming happiness and adversity into the spiritual path, are there any questions or comments about this transmission? Just raise your hand if you have anything that you would like to say. Okay. So Laura Lay, is that you raising your hand? If it is, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Lorraine,
Hi.
and hi, and I'm not a Buddhist practitioner, but I'm familiar with the teachings, and I'm very much of diversity, and so the generalized concepts of what you shared, are woven in and out of my life. So, but do you feel, in terms of consistent practice, that it's important to be on just one practice? I love everything you're sharing, and it's transmitting into me. Thank you. It's such perfect timing. It's great. I'm in a lot of turmoil my whole life. I'm a happy person with total tragedies going on around inside and out, but I'm looking for the hero's journey too. And I don't want to dedicate myself to just one practice without being fully called. I've been a seeker,
Okay.
Does that
Well, okay, since you're talking to me, okay, because I'm not representing any spiritual path. I have studied a great deal, and a lot of my practices are very much influenced by Tibetan Buddhism, because some of my best teachers were some of my greatest teachers were Tibetans. But for me, the journey is about awakened mind, and I don't really care how you get there. And from my experience is that different people get there through different ways, and that it's not a different place where we're going. We're all going the same way. It's just we're getting there in different paths. And a practice, any spiritual practice, should be. Now, of course, there are different, in certain religions, practice is all about signing on the dotted line. But for me, spirituality is about this attainment of awakened mind. And so it doesn't matter. The practice has to be what stimulates you. When we engage in our practice, which we're about to stand up and do two of our, what I call foundational dances. One of them is the statement that what we're here for is to manifest the inner wisdom. According to these teachings, our consciousness has the capacity to completely immerse itself in loving compassion. That's our birthright. That, of course, we also have the capacity to be unkind and to cause a lot of problems. That's also, we have that built into our DNA as well. But we have choice. The thing about being human, and this is emphasized a lot in the Tibetan practice, is this being a human is an exceptional condition. And it allows us, we're talking about the 6 realms of suffering, right? The hell realm, et cetera, et cetera. Only in the human realm do we have enough capacity to generate awakened mind. And that's exceptional. So your practice, to answer you, your practice is unique to you. You're the one who decides whether it's functional or not. Now, if you have a guide, if you have, in the Indian tradition, you call them gurus, but, in the Brazilian tradition, it was master, it's just, if you have a spirit, but my choice is spiritual friend. If you have a spiritual friend that you're depending on, who is sharing some form of practice, then be consequent with that spiritual friend and tell them to what degree you're willing to get involved in this practice. They're going to give you their life's blood. I mean, that's how it is. When you get to a certain state of awakening, you really want to give some kind of stimulus to the people around you. So be consequent to that. But you're the one who decides whether it works for you or not. If it doesn't, or what works for you. It could be, you may be invoking Krishna at the same time you're invoking Buddha, and there's no problem there. Did I disappear? Can you not hear me?
Oh, you wanted me to speak.
I
My
just
son's been going.
I just wanted to make sure that you heard me.
I want
Okay.
like 89 to 90%, because just in the end it muted out. But I really feel you shared very potent guidelines, and because, oh gosh, I've been going in and out of, I don't like to shit on myself, but I have been into diversity, and I have often felt, if it was called maybe like 99% to one path and something said, or teacher, and it's like, no, sweetheart, you just got to keep going, and then maybe something else shows itself. But I don't like how it has been, I feel difficult how it's scattered my life, as well as relations with others, as well as like, oh my goodness, what do you do with guides and teachers that you've been with for a long time? It seems like there's a beautiful Krishna temple here in Tucson, but I've been having a lot of difficulty with, let's say, behaviors of people, and feeling shitted on. And so it feels daunting, because I kind of feel like I'm in a situation, a threat and doom kind of situation, which I won't go into here. But I'm feeling like, well, how do I muscle through this? If it's this life or continuing next life, so that I've got a good foundation of holding firm ground. I feel like on a moralistic or value, ethics and values level, or the teachings that have come to me, it's like, yeah, these are wonderful tools. But I also see, I highly respect and regard people and students, whether I'm in resonance with the groups or not, for the steady, strong foundation of learning.
Okay. So briefly, if you want to have a personal conversation with me, you can. Send your email address and we can talk about it. I would, it's helpful to have a spiritual friend who has some experience to be able to talk through these things, because you don't want to be all over the place, really. The path is simple. It's not easy, but it's very straightforward and it's very clear. When I started with I had a lot of experience with many different spiritual paths. And when I first started working with the Tibetans, every time, in fact, every spiritual path I've ever journeyed in, I always said to whoever it was that I was working with, I must be able to integrate the experiences that I had in my previous spiritual journey. Otherwise, I'm not interested. So for instance, I had many experiences in the Catholic Church. So, and I think, where did I transfer from the Catholic Church to yoga? And I studied the yoga very seriously, but what I said is, you cannot contradict my experience from the Catholic Church. I didn't buy everything that they had to offer, but there were some things that were very profound for me. The whole idea of compassion, of Christ's compassion, of Mary's mercy, those things were powerful events for me. And so that had to be included. And it's one of the reasons why I wasn't satisfied with my teachers in different areas, because there wasn't the degree of compassion. I didn't find the degree of compassion until I got to the Tibetans. And then finally, I found a group that was talking as much about compassion as what I experienced when I was a Catholic. Because to me, that was the big thing. That was the most powerful experience, spiritual experience for me, was compassion. So I would say you need to integrate it all. But on the other hand, it's common actually in Tibetan practice. They'll say, well, one of the problems with the Tibetans is you can dig a lot of different shallow holes and all different kinds of practices and not get anywhere. If you really want to get down to the water, if you got to dig your well straight down. So you've got to concentrate your practices in a way that's really functional. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I'm happy to talk with you privately if you like. Okay, my friends, let's see. I'm going to go back to gallery view. It's really nice. That was a really good question there. Anybody else have something they want to discuss or some questions that they want to ask? Just raise your hand. Okay, I see. Is that Malia? It is. It's my adorable, gorgeous, fabulous Malia. Okay, let's unmute yourself, dear. And I'm going to put you on speaker so I can spotlight you.
Am I okay now or no?
Yes, gotcha.
Okay. I just wanted to say, I find that, just a little PS postscript to that great recommendation, but it's still very, very hard, is you are the tool user. So there are many tools, but you still are the tool user. So that doesn't make life any easier, because there are a lot of very good tools that work in many different situations. So it's still a complex task.
Absolutely, Malia, nobody said it was going to be easy. That's why I said it's simple, but it's not easy. Digging a hole, it's simple, but it's not easy.
Right.
And living a life that's oriented towards awakening, it's not easy. What we're being asked to do here, transforming adversity and happiness, it's not an easy task. It takes constant attention. This is why it's called a practice, because we need to constantly pay attention to what is happening. As soon as there's an uprising in emotion, we should pay attention to it. As soon as there's an uprise in mental grasping, we need to pay attention. The good news is that it's effective. If we pay attention and we develop a strategy, that we can see the result. And this is what I was saying, that my friends that I've been with for 40 years now, we're in our 70s and 80s. Hello there, Malia, right? And so our what's happening, we have to, it's a new world for us. It's completely different than it was 20 years ago. It's not easy, but we should never expect it to be easy. There's back to those expectation business. Don't expect it to be easy. Be open. This is where be content with what it is, and develop the tools. Yes, we've got tools. We got to use them. It's like somebody gives you a bag of potatoes and you say, oh, this is horrible. You say, well, cook them. You got the tools, cook them. Well, but it takes a lot of effort. You got to peel them. You got to cut them. So it takes effort. Yes. And we have to be willing to put in that effort, Malia. That's the thing. That's why we keep coming back to the point. We have to practice. And the practice, it's not just saying mantra, although mantra helps. If that's a tool that helps you, it's finding what the tools are and then consistently using them. And if you run into a sore spot, if you run into, like, for instance, this new friend, Lorelei, who we were just talking to, she's run into a sore spot. She needs to figure out how to integrate all of the experiences that she's had up until this point into a meaningful journey that's not going to be distractive or disruptive. We want to find out our questions. That's the point at which our mind is saying, okay, here's the point of resistance. I'm sorry, Xenia, I'm talking too fast. Okay. And Minnie is nodding her head, yeah. The point of resistance is where the question is. That's why I keep asking you all, what is your question? And you should really look at that. You should develop your question, because your question, what you feel you can't work with, that's the point of your growth. That's your mind presenting its opportunity to you to blow through whatever's holding you back. So put words to it if you can. We can't put words to ultimate mind, but we can definitely put words to relative mind. And it can be extremely effective, very transformative, but never expect it to be easy. That's why it says, yeah, happiness, ho, ho. I mean, I remember this guy. Yeah, happiness. but it's not going to last. If that's what you're going to do is grasp onto your happiness and then beat yourself up if you're not happy, well, forget it. This is not the spiritual journey. That's a left turn. You want to go for the gusto. Did I hit it, Malia?
Well, I mean, there is a wonderful thing that from your commitment comes a lot of joy. And also from your gratitude, there's a lot of thank you for putting me in this beautiful world, which keeps having this wonderful opportunities to experience joy.
Yes, well, it's said that our ultimate mind is the experience of joy.
Yeah.
So it's definitely part of the journey. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, thank you, Malia. And it looks like Sherry is waving her hand. Hi, girlie. It's so nice to see you. Goodness. So unmute yourself. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, everybody. Well, I just had this overwhelming sensation when you're talking about your joy and your energy that you share with others. And I have unbounding joy and unbounding energy, and I love sharing it with others. And why this Dharma practice is so, oh my gosh, it's just been a lifesaver so many times, no matter where it comes from. Truthful words are truthful words. But today I was reminded of sharing my joy, being happy, going to the beach, being surrounded by my family, which is very challenging. And then here comes my ex. He's always there. Christmas, birthdays, Valentine's, you name it. We're always together. Yahoo! So here I zip on I'm not sharing my energy and my joy with him. Everybody else, yes, but not with him. No way. He doesn't deserve it. La, la, la. And so I zip on my armadillo suit. And then I'm sitting there feeling like I weigh 1,000 pounds with all this armor on. And I have this little tickle spot on my belly, and it's not being rubbed. And it just, it was so heavy. And I left there feeling heavy. And I left there going, oh my God, am I destined to have every single gathering with this person? And oh my gosh, And then today, just now, you unzipped my armadillo suit because you repeated this. Share your joy. It increases yours. It's such a simple truth. How can you hold back your joy for one person or a group or whatever it is? It's just an amazing knowledge. Thank you for that today. That's very golden to me.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad you got that armadillo suit off. Wow, it's kind of hard to swim with that thing on. Ay, 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 ay. Oh, great. Thank you, Sherry, for sharing. Okay, and did I see Albania waving her hand? No, not. Okay, that was just a hello wave. All right, how are we doing? Anyone else have anything they want to share? Okay, so can you believe it? An hour has gone flying by. I'm going to take a short break, just 5 minutes, nothing special, 5-10 minutes. Let's see, what time is it now? It's a little bit past 8. So, okay, we'll give it 10 minutes. And then we'll come back and I want to dance. 5 minutes is good enough. 5 minutes. Okay. Well, so we'll start with the dance of motivation, and then we'll do Shanti Deva. And then I have a wonderful practice that I want to share with you, something very inspiring. So thank you very much. And thank you, Miri and Mei Chen, for keeping everything rolling here. And see you, darlings, in 10 minutes. Yeah.
exalted community until I am enlightened, enthused by compassion and wisdom. Today in this sacred presence, I generate the mind of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. For as long as space endures and sentient beings remain, may I dispel the world's misery with my love and light, with the wish to free all beings. I rely on the enlightened ones, their teachings and the exalted community until I am enlightened, enthused by compassion and wisdom. Today in this sacred presence, I generate the mind of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. For as long as space endures and sentient beings remain, may I dispel the world's misery with my love and light, with the wish to free all beings. I rely on the enlightened ones, their teachings and the exalted community until I am enlightened, enthused by compassion and wisdom. Today in this sacred presence, I generate the mind of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. For as long as space endures and sentient beings remain, may I dispel the world's misery with my love and light, with my love and light, with my
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's so precious to share the dance with you all. Really divine. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do, I have this beautiful meditation, but before I do it, I want to set it up. Where did it go? Ah, there we go. Okay. There are two activities that we must engage in constantly and consistently. One is to let go of guilt and fear, and we call these practices of purification. The other one is to accumulate wisdom and energy. Wisdom and merit is what they call it, wisdom and merit. But merit has to do with the radiance that gives us the capacity, one, to be receptive and alert to inspiration and insight when it arises. That's what merit does for us. The other is to give us the capacity of radiance and of benefit, bringing benefit to others. So we are constantly in our practices engaged in these two things as far as dualistic activity, which is mostly what we do, until we start to engage in the ability to let the mind open into its infinite essence. So in this practice of, because we were talking about happiness, I found this beautiful text that just really inspired me. It really inspired me. So what I'm going to ask Miri to put the beautiful picture of the Standing Tara back on, just so that you're not distracted by watching me read. And I'm going to ask you to sit in a meditative posture, comfortable, you know, and to close your eyes. Now, the man who wrote this obviously was a poet. His name is Tarchin Hearn, and he has a Dharma teaching center and monastery, et cetera, in, I'm going to turn my video off. So, yeah. In New Zealand. And one of his students sent this to me years ago, and I have been carrying it around with me. I finally opened it up today to share with you guys. And in my typical fashion, rewrote it so that it was, well, you'll see. So now what I want you to do is rest at ease. Okay, we start there. Rest at ease and enjoy the flow of your breathing. Within you and around you is the shrine of the world. Open your senses to appreciate the specific situation and circumstances of where you are, and relish the details, the fullness of the scene around you. For instance, I am in a comfortable room in an elegant apartment building in Brasilia. The smell of incense from Miri's altar soothes me. There's a crisp breeze from the open window at my side. Now I'm going to give you a moment to take notice of your own surroundings. Feel the presence of your mentors and teachers, inspiring you to awaken. Feel this in the marrow of your being and sense your ancestors, a river of experience flowing through the changing landscapes of time. Rest in the immense ecology of this living world. Breathe with all beings. We pray for the welfare of all and make these offerings to generate blessings for all beings. To all of our teachers, ancestors, and the immeasurable matrix of life, we offer water for drinking. Yes, these are the 8 precious offerings. We imagine drinking crystal water and feel it flowing through our bodies, purifying all of our sense doors, cleansing our seeing, our hearing, our smelling, our tasting, touching, and mental activity. We meet the world just as it is, utterly present and compassionately responsive to every arising object, inner or outer, animate or inanimate. We offer water for drinking which floods the entire being with the fluid bliss of seeing clearly without judgment, of hearing without confusion, of touching with wonderment and curiosity, smelling with sensitivity, tasting with delight, thinking and conceptualizing, clearly knowing that this is what is happening. This offering of water for drinking, we offer it without attachment. To all of our teachers, ancestors, and the immeasurable matrix of life, we offer bathing water. Feel the delight of water on your skin. It is the purification and nourishing of our heart of awakening. This act of purifying is the act of being utterly present, giving all of our attention to whatever is arising. Instead of a chaos of conflicting projects, whirlwinds of hopes and fears that churn the ocean of our lives, we reveal a mystery of awakening that is in process. We nourish a deepening appreciation for the interdependency of everything and feel a conscious determination to unfold myriad talents and good qualities in order to help all beings flourish in this tapestry of awakening stardust that is our living world. In this tapestry of awakening stardust that is our living world. This is the offering water for bathing. We offer it without attachment. To all of our teachers, ancestors, and the immeasurable matrix of life, we offer flowers, the mystery of living beauty, the natural beauty that shines forth when we feel utterly in tune, when the inner and the outer come together in a harmonious burst of creativity, birthing newness into the world for others. Offering flowers is to offer the beauty of the awakened mind, the flowering of wisdom and compassion, tolerance and kindness, the budding, the Bodhi, the Buddha that is everyone's very nature shining forth, functioning through body, speech, and mind. We offer the flowering beauty of our life, and we offer it without attachment. To all of our teachers, ancestors, and the immeasurable matrix of life, we offer an immense cloud of incense, the incense of pure moral conduct, scenting each activity of our body, speech, and mind, appreciating, supporting life, cultivating a mind of spontaneous generosity, actively using the senses to explore the world, communicating skillfully, compassionately, nourishing ourselves and all beings in all ways that support awakening. All these actions pervading our relationships with people, animals, plants, landscapes, with micro beings too small to see and macro beings beyond our comprehension, with inner thoughts and feelings and memories, with each and every facet of this vast dance of life. To offer incense is to perfume every action with love, compassion, clear seeing, and deepening understanding. May the activities of our body, speech, and mind become perfume for all that we meet. This is the offering of incense. We offer it without attachment. To all of our teachers, ancestors, and the immeasurable matrix of life, we offer light, not merely candles or butter lamps, but the illumination of wisdom, knowing with appreciative understanding the profound interconnectedness, and interdependence of everything and everyone. Just as the light from one candle can ignite another, so the natural play of broad and inclusive, continuously fresh awareness awakens others to understanding, spreading in every direction. Dwelling in the domain of the all-embracive, we offer the light of deepening wisdom. May all beings shine forth, illuminating the best in each other. May all beings shine forth, illuminating the best in each other. This is the offering of light, and we offer it without attachment. To all of our teachers, ancestors, and the immeasurable matrix of life, we offer the perfume of sincere devotion. This is an offering of love and support for all that is wholesome, perfuming each moment with immense energy, a heartfelt commitment to uplift beings. Devotion to truth, devotion to honesty, devotion to compassion, devotion to questioning and exploring freely, devotion to looking deeply into whatever is arising, and then to living according to the implications of what is discovered. May all beings enhance the world with the perfume of total engagement flowing from a fearless heart. This is the offering of perfume, and we offer it without attachment. To all of our teachers, ancestors, and the immeasurable matrix of life, we offer a banquet of food. This represents abundance, an abundance of talents, interests, and engagements, all laid out as a magnificent feast to feed beings, each according to their needs. We offer the food of delight, which comes from living in accord with the truth. We offer the food of samadhi, the harmonizing of body and mind through meditation. We offer the food of the wisdom of seeing through the illusion of separateness. May the activities of body, speech, and mind become a banquet for all beings. This offering of the food of abundance, we offer it without attachment. To all of our teachers, ancestors, and the immeasurable matrix of life, we offer music, the voice of the Dharma, a symphony of teaching, encouraging, cajoling, inspiring, instructing, humoring, reasoning, uplifting, and demonstrating to the voice of silent action. We offer the wonderful rhythms, harmonies, syncopations, and surprises, the music of heart and mind, functioning beautifully, singing the song of awakening to all and with all that we meet. This is the offering of music. We offer it to all without attachment. Standing in the midst of this miracle of being, we offer all that we are and all that we have. Ma, ho. Resting in a beginningless, endless stream of offering. Parent to child, child to parent, teacher to student, student to teacher, friend to friend, creature to creature, being to being. This is the practice of the 8 precious offerings, a celebration of life. May we carry it through every situation of every day. These prayers of offering contain whispers of ancient wisdom from the treasury of a multitude of cultures. May they become inseparably braided into the cloth of your life. Find your own words to call forth the essence in an intimate and personal way. Bring to life the meaning behind the words and manifest it in the marketplace, the current shrine of global culture. May all of us together dissolve the madness of desperate grasping with the solvent of remembering, releasing into the vast flow of giving and receiving, time and space, weaving meaning and empathy and understanding into the living loom of now. Sarva Mangalam, Sarva Mangalam, Sarva Mangalam. Thank you all for your indulgence. I was so inspired by that piece of poetry, by that approach to the 8 precious offerings. So I just have one other little piece of something that I wanted to share. And this is a book that I have picked up recently, and it's called Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach, who is a meditation teacher and a psychotherapist. One of the ongoing sort of arguments, you might say, or disagreements, or things that have arisen between some of the Tibetan masters and their Western students is the wish to integrate modern psychotherapy with Dharma presentation. And some of the lamas felt very offended by the idea that we would want to integrate these 2 modes, these 2 sets of tools, as Lorelei put it. We have so many tools, as Malia put it. But in fact, I find it very helpful, because basically all of these teachings and all of these tools are about stimulating our consciousness to reveal its true nature. And words are the big stimulus. Now, in Taradatu, we use also music and dance. But in a lot of religions, they use sound, the whole percussive thing, the movement thing, the prayer thing. But mostly in most cultures, it's words. Words stimulate us. Words are evocative. That's what turned me on with this piece of meditation that I just shared with you. The way he's using words, it's very evocative. It's not necessarily direction. It's more to allow the mind to relax into its nature and to be stimulated so that insight arises. This is what we're seeking, the arisal of insight. So what Tara Brach in this book was saying, which is something that occurred to me, it took a little while. When I started teaching Tara, all I really wanted to do was teach the dance. I didn't really understand the implications of the Dharma. I didn't have any experience in the Dharma. I just knew that the dance itself was extremely powerful and that the dancers in the audience had profound experience. And so that's what drew me on. But then as I engaged in the practices, because I wanted to know why people were having these big experiences, I had a few really important, powerful ahas. And one of them is the basis of this book. It occurred to me that it was actually His Holiness the Dalai Lama who pointed it out to us. When he first came to America, when he first came to the West and he started giving teachings, he met with Buddhist teachers, Western Buddhist teachers. And he asked them, he said to them, there is something I really don't understand at all. He said something that we don't have any word for in Tibetan, which is self-hatred. He said, what does this mean? How is it that you don't love yourselves? Where did this self-hatred come from? And so she starts her whole presentation of radical acceptance. What radically want to accept, what she's opening the door for us to see, is all those parts of ourselves that we don't think we're good enough. Now, this basic presentation starts in our culture with the mythos of the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve. Because of that whole story, we're not good enough. Basically, at heart, we're not good enough according to the presentation of our culture. And all of our activity is this scramble to try to figure out how to be good enough. Now, in the Christian religion, they will present Christ as the one who brings us to a state of good enough. But because it goes along with a lot of rules that nobody can possibly follow, no matter how much they try, we have this tremendous conflict in our culture. Nobody is good enough. And so this has created a tremendous anxiety in all of us. This sense that no matter what we do, it's not enough. No matter what we have, it's not enough. No matter what we accomplish, it's not enough. We are never enough. And basically, this is the stimulus, whereas the Buddhist practice takes us there and says, well, there's our original confusion. Here's the source of all of our insanity, is the idea that we're not good enough. Because in fact, according to Buddhist teachings, basically at heart, we have the capacity for wisdom and compassion. This is what is extraordinary about being a human being. In the 6 realms of samsara, it is only in the human realm when we have enough connection with our basic goodness to be able to overcome the stimulus of this sense of separation that causes us to attach onto things, to give ourselves a sense of stability, and to vigorously push away anything that threatens this sense of stability, which is a completely false experience. So she is proposing, and of course, this is an essential part of our study and our practice, is to examine how do we constantly feel we are not good enough. Now, I encounter this all the time with people who are doing practice. They're doing a lot of practice and they say, well, I don't do enough. I can't sit so long. I can't say a million mantras, or whatever it is where the body mind is causing some resistance. There is this sense of failure, and it is all pervasive, and it's inhibiting. And so this presentation, what we need to do, what our Dharma practice is trying to do, is to help us to give up this obsession with where we think we're not good enough, we don't have enough, et cetera, et cetera. So I just took a couple of quotes from her book, and then I have a little practice that I'd like to do with you. So reading, first of all, I'd like to start with this Rumi poem that I think many of you know. It's an exquisitely beautiful poem, and she starts her book with it. So I thought, oh, I like this lady here. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. So we're starting with the understanding that when we really open to our essential nature, we discover our vast and exquisite interconnectivity. And this is the orientation that we want to stimulate and generate throughout our practice. We want to see what holds us back from this. We want to purify that. And what brings us forward, we want to accumulate it so that we have the capacity to move through our interconnected world as a source of blessing. So I'm just going to read a couple of these and then we'll do a little practice together. Feeling that something is wrong with me is the invisible and toxic gas I'm always breathing. This arises hearing of someone else's accomplishments, being criticized, getting into an argument, making a mistake at work. I feel that I am not okay. Now, can you relate to any of that? Can you relate to? Yes. Hi, Kim. Yeah. Smiling and nodding her head. I mean, this is, I'm going to read this little piece again. Being criticized. Okay. When we are criticized, what happens? Okay. Getting into an argument. What happens? We judge ourselves. It's not, we push back, certainly, but inside of ourselves, we feel I must be causing this problem. There's something in me that's causing this problem. Making a mistake. I used to be terrified of making a mistake because it meant that I wasn't okay. And I had to prove to whoever was around me that I was okay. So here's our whole journey of accumulating a persona, of accumulating the heaps, of gathering whatever it is, gathering the identity separate from the rest of the world and aggressively pushing away anything that threatens that identity. So examine this. Feeling unworthy goes hand in hand with feeling separate from others, separate from life. If we are defective, how can we possibly belong? So in other words, this sense of I'm not good enough is what's keeping us separate from the interconnectivity, because we say, how can I possibly be connected to everything that exists when I'm not good enough? I'm the weak thread in this loom of life. Deep pockets of shame and insecurity have a stubborn way of persisting. We can spend years and decades of our life trying to be who others want us to be, trying to be good enough to re-enter the garden that Eve, of course, drove us out of. All suffering or dissatisfaction arises from a mistaken understanding that we are a separate and distinct self. This perception of selfness imprisons us in endless rounds of craving and aversion. Through our practice, we reclaim our human dignity, a joyful and liberated life. This is the fundamental happiness and freedom that are the birthright of every human being. So this is so beautifully illustrated by Sherry's presentation, right? There she is, rejecting somebody so vigorously that she's miserable. The continual rejection, the non-opening, the feeling that, how can this possibly be happening to me? I'm such a good person, and here I am, I'm presented with this idiot. And so it's impossible then for her to experience her own joy, her own freedom. Whenever we put someone out of the circle of our love, we are diminished. We are diminished. So that was, it was a perfect illustration, Sherry, that you gave us there. Through our practice, we reclaim our human dignity, a joyful and liberated life. This is the fundamental happiness and freedom that are the birthright of every human being. We free ourselves by learning to recognize what is true in the present moment and by embracing whatever we see with an open heart. Because remember, it's our choice whether we're going to keep our heart open or whether we're going to close it. It's our choice. May we each discover the pure awareness and love that are our deepest nature. May our loving awareness embrace all beings everywhere. So then there's this interesting quote from Mother Teresa. After a lifetime of working with the poor and the sick, Mother Teresa's insight was, the biggest disease today is not leprosy or tuberculosis or COVID-19 for that matter, but rather the feeling of not belonging. In our own society, this disease has reached epidemic proportions. We long to belong and feel as if we don't deserve to. So examine those words and see where does this irritation arise in you, where you feel you're not good enough. Spiritual awakening is the process of recognizing our essential goodness, our natural wisdom and compassion. Now remember, as human beings, that is what is at the basis of our essential nature, is essential goodness, natural wisdom, and compassion. This is what's distinct. This is what rises us up from the capacity of any of the other realms, that we have all of these possibilities, including the possibility of putting on the armadillo coat and of rejecting and of being miserable. We have tremendous capacity to make ourselves miserable. We have tremendous capacity to reject ourselves. But we also have, according to these teachings, our essential nature is based in goodness, in wisdom, in compassion. And that through actively engaging with this understanding, moving towards the embrace of interconnectivity, that is our fulfillment, that we can find our way by opening in that way. True freedom is being without anxiety. I love this statement. True freedom is being without anxiety about imperfection. So, in fact, the whole concept of perfection, when somebody says to me, well, it's nice, but it's not perfect, I say, oh, yes, it is. Every moment is perfect being what it is. Every moment is perfect. You're imposing a standard on something that's moving. It's like taking a piece of the river and saying, okay, this is the perfect part of the river. Wait a second. The river is moving along. Our life is moving along. We can't isolate it. If we do, it's false. That's untruth. True freedom is being without anxiety about imperfection. So there's no such thing. Every moment is perfect being what it is. This means, okay, now this is hard to take for some. This means accepting our human existence and all of life as it is. Imperfection is not our personal problem. It is a natural part of existing. We all get caught in wants and fears. We all act unconsciously. We all get diseased. We all deteriorate. When we relax about imperfection, we no longer lose our life moments in the pursuit of being different and in the fear of what is wrong. And I'm going to read that again. Yes, I'm going to read that again. True freedom is being without anxiety about imperfection. This means accepting our human existence and all of life as it is. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. In other words, the rose has thorns. Let us not resent the thorns. The rose has thorns. So with all of the presentation, all of the way life presents itself to us, it's a mixed bag. So why fight the thorns when you can smell the rose? And then recognize that that rose is only there in a moment. Within a day or two, those petals are going to fall and that smell is going to go. It's all impermanent. It's all impermanent. And when we accept that and understand that without anxiety, this is freedom. This is freedom. This is the natural part of existing. Do not get caught in wants and fears. We act unconsciously. It's okay. We get disease. That's okay. We deteriorate. That's okay. Relax. We no longer lose our life moments in the pursuit of being different and in the fear of what is wrong. We come alive as we rediscover the truth of our goodness and our natural connectedness to all of life. We free ourselves from the prison of separateness as we stop the war against ourselves and instead learn to relate to our lives with a wise and compassionate heart. Okay, so I have one other little thing that I want to share with you now. I'm going to say a word, I'm going to say a line, and I want you to repeat after me, okay? And if you want, you can unmute yourselves or not, but here we go. So I'm going to say something and I want you to repeat it back to me. Place your hands on your heart. Place your hands on your heart, both hands. I have to hold my paper with one hand, but you've got two hands free. There you go. All right, repeat after me. I am worthy.
I am worthy.
Worthy.
I am loved.
I am
I am
loved.
loved.
I am cared for.
I am
cared
cared
for.
I care for others.
I
I
care
care for others.
I choose good for myself.
I choose
good
good
for
for
myself.
myself.
I choose good for others.
I
Choose
good for others.
others.
I love myself.
I love myself.
Myself.
I love others.
I love
others.
I open my heart.
I open my
heart.
My heart is open.
My heart is
Heart
is
is open.
Está abierto.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so we have a few minutes for comments and questions. If you'd like to raise your hand, I'm happy to chat with you.
Okay.
Okay,
Just a quick chat. Oh, I find it interesting. I wrote some prose the other day that mirrored what you were just reading. And I don't like to brag about it, but it sounds like it, you know, me, maybe many of us here have that highly empathic personality, you know, characteristic. But I'm wondering too, I'm noticing from when I was younger that I never had mentors or teachers, and I wasn't prompted to have them. In our family, it was, you had to be the best, know it all. It's like, oh my God. So I didn't get any mentors. I didn't get any teachers. I had no guidance in my life. It's kind of, so I'm just sharing that observation that I can see, you know, where I'm also seeing a tailgate on what you had said about, you know, we feel like we have to have this perfection or be enough or be great or whatever it is to belong or to be wanted or to feel worthy. And it's like, can be all or nothing. But also I guess I'm feeling, you know, I intuit, I don't know if it's too much ideas, but it's not like, but it's, you know, then I have to get to something else. I don't know if I stop.
Lorelai, let's just talk you and me. I think it would be much easier than.
Oh,
engaging
okay.
the group.
I guess,
Because we've
sorry.
got a
I
few
guess I
minutes.
need my discernment. I still have to have lunch. I didn't know I was coming to join you. Sorry. But
I'm
all
glad
right.
you
It's
did.
just that whole
Yeah.
idea of observing things and not having the open heart to receive, or having the open heart to receive teachings or readings, you know, and
Right.
transmissions, meditations and dances.
It's a choice. All these things are personal choices that,
It's-
you know, once you see what you need, then you're going to move towards it. You know, we're hungry. We're all hungry for spiritual inspiration. It's a greater hunger than food, in fact. We're hungry to be spiritually inspired. And we have to follow the trail. It's just like smelling the food, you know, we follow the trail of where we hope we're going to find the fulfillment of that. And it's really helpful to have spiritual friends. It's really helpful. Our
Thank you
culture's
so
been very confusing. One of the things that when I look at children and I remember my childhood, I remember how confusing it was. My parents said one thing, my teachers said one thing, my friends said another thing, the television said another thing, the books I was reading said another. It was very confusing. Definitely seeking out mentors was not an easy thing in our culture, but we're very lucky now. Now we have some really brilliant people laying it out, and we have this wonderful tool of Zooming. My God, it's unbelievable, and the internet. We have so many options. It's really fantastic. But thank you for sharing, Laura. Anyone else have
Thank you
something
so
that they'd like to
Somebody
ask or
else.
that they'd like to say? Hmm? Okay, well, then what I want to do here is say thank you to Miri. Nice to see you, Susie and Sherry and Trishana. Fantastic. And there's Celia. Okay, I'm just looking through all the Anne, Kobe, fantastic. All right, and then Anna. Okay, Anna Tanya. Wow. Yeah, how nice. Okay, and Xenia, thank you so much for translating for our Brasileiras. And then Kim, it's really beautiful. You're so receptive. And there's Liliha. Wow. Okay. So glad you can join us. And of course, Mei Chen is recording everything for us. She's such a sweetheart. And then Layla. Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow. She was just one of the leaders at our retreat. And Leah, we missed you so much. Leah, unfortunately, was positive and we couldn't welcome her to the retreat. That was really sad. But Meadow, there's our Meadow. She got to sing and dance. That was fantastic. And Amina, wow, nice to see you, girl. Okay. And is that Neilani? Yes. Wow. Thank you for joining us. And Kala over there in the Big Islands. Yep. Hiya, girl. Okay. And Amora. Wow. Look, with Maui behind you, boy, does that look delicious. Mm. Maya, you showed up. All right. Yay, hooray. And Robin, yes, come and dance at the Dakini workshop. By the way, everybody, we have one position open with the Dakini workshop. So yes, and that we saved a spot for you, Robin, so you can just jump on board. Yeah, and Joni, all right. Well, welcome. Yeah. Yep. And then Mary Stone. Lily Archie, wow, fantastic. I'm so glad you could join us. This is beautiful. And Maida, we have a lot of brasileiras. This is lovely. Elaine, wow, haven't seen you in a while, girl. Nice to have you join us. Wow, that's perfect. Elena, all right, our New York Spanish Tara. And Jasmine Judith, I thought I saw you there. Joy, fantastic. And then who's at the bottom here? Julia. Wow. Okay, my beloveds. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so grateful. It really, it's so inspiring, to prepare these papers and these meditations. I hope you enjoyed. Yes, come on, give me some feedback. How was this talk? Were you happy to spend a couple hours like this? Okay.
Yeah.
Thumbs up. Yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah.
It was
Okay.
just what the doctor ordered, Prema. Just what the doctor ordered. So
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad because I love doing this. So thank you all for being part of it. I really appreciate it. And those of you who had questions, thank you so much. So now let's do three. How are we doing? Yeah, Oma Hongs. Oh. Ah. Oh. Ah. Oh. Oh. Ah. Oh. With great gratitude, with great gratitude. Yeah, bye. Bye for now. Take care, everybody. Take care.
Aloha.